Hello everyone, it's John, and I'm back with another Geek and Dorks review. I have to give a quick shout out to Mickey's MDN. She is a great supporter of the show. She's been around a long time commenting, and she also became a brain scratch researcher for me. Recently she sent me an email with a bunch of suggestions for different documentaries for me to check out, and one of those is what we're talking about today. It caught my eye because the name of the documentary is Aileen, Life and Death of a Serial Killer. And the first thought that hit me was, oh wow, a female serial killer. You see, in all the research that I've done since I've started doing Brain Scratch, it's pretty rare to find a female serial killer. As a matter of fact, in some of the news footage that's in this documentary, they refer to her as the first known American female serial killer. As a matter of fact, she's the one responsible for doing this to me. Okay, maybe not. No, she didn't kill my eye. And she actually was executed in the state of Florida in 2002. And that's where this documentary is pretty interesting. I didn't realize it when I started watching it, but this is actually the second documentary made by this same director. His name is Nick Broomfield, about Aileen. And if you're curious, the rest of her name is Aileen Wuornos, Wuornos, if you want to check her out for yourself. I believe she killed 7 men all in 1 year, and she was essentially a hitchhiking prostitute. She had a really tough upbringing, and what's cool about this documentary, with it being the second one, is it refers to the first one. I actually haven't seen the first one myself, but I don't think it's critical that you do. There's a different story going on in this one. It's about her basically struggling to get her execution. She wants to leave this planet, and there are some really bizarre twists and turns that happen. The filmmaker Nick Broomfield is actually pulled into a trial and used as a witness for her defense at some point. You get to see the legal system in a very interesting way. You also get to see there's this one point where psychiatrists are brought in to check her sanity, essentially, before she's going to be executed. And even though she's asking to be executed and doing some other extremely strange things, they give her a clear bill of health very, very quickly. So it's weird. There's this kind of overall sadness in what's going on with the case. A few moments where she is raging at the filmmaker, kind of directly at the camera, that are really intimidating. And if you haven't looked into the eyes of a murderer before, especially a serial killer, hopefully this would be your only opportunity to do so. I hope you never have to face that in the real world, but you can certainly get a good dose of it in this film, and it's pretty scary. Her eyes just turn into something else. She looks like she's being possessed in some of those moments. On IMDB, it is rated a 7.2 out of 10. Once again, another 7 out of 10 for you guys, but I agree with that. There are probably some ways it could have been a little bit better. It drags just a little bit, but there is a bunch of great research done here. And it's also kind of cool because in some ways it is a deconstruction, I guess, of his first documentary. Some of the things that he found in his first documentary, she's now admitting are not true in the second documentary. And I think it's pretty... that's one of the reasons why I love YouTube so much, because if I do an episode of Brain Scratch and I get a bunch of things wrong, I can always pop back on next week and say, hey, guess what? All that research we found was bogus. Here's the new information. And I think it's pretty rare to have that happen in documentaries of this type. But Nick Broomfield was smart enough to go back and to address those things and then tell this new story of her leading up to her execution and him reaching out to her family and trying to get a better sense of what happened to this young woman, or this woman when she was very young, that might have led her to this life. And for you conspiracy theory fans out there, there's even this theory that she keeps bringing up about how she has some devices potentially not quite mind controlling her, but at least impacting her while she's in prison, and a whole theory that the police actually let her get away with killing several people so they could sell movie rights and book deals. So pretty kind of intriguing stuff. And she goes right to her death claiming that all that is true. You'll find out there's some information to actually support that the police were definitely reaching out for movies and book deals, which kind of raises a question in itself. Maybe I'll do a Johnny Vlogs on, because that's a weird place to be. When you're being paid professionally to do a certain type of job, should you really be able to do outside things like that might impact what you're doing primarily? Yeah, I think I will do an episode on that. Anyway, I highly suggest you check out Aileen, Life and Death of a Serial Killer. It was released in 2003. It is available on YouTube. I'm going to include the link down in the description box below. I don't know if it's legit or not, so if you feel like you want to avoid piracy altogether, even if it is posted on YouTube, please feel free to search it out. I'm pretty sure you can find it on most of the normal channels. Definitely worth a viewing. And like I said, even if you haven't seen the first one, this story is kind of self-encompassed. It doesn't rely on information from the first one too heavily, at least that I could determine. I never felt like I was, at some spot where I didn't know what they were talking about or something like that. And it is extremely interesting. A female serial killer, that is a very rare thing, at least as far as we understand. And could lead to some very interesting thoughts and conversations all on its own. So I hope you will check it out, and I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Geek and Dorks Reviews. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next show on the Geek and Dorks channel.